Okay, so betrayal. Kind of heavy topic, huh? But I think it's one of those things we all encounter, whether it's in, the movies we watch or maybe even closer to home. So um, I figured why not? Let's deep dive into it, right?
Yeah, sounds good to me.
Today we've got, well, it's like the outline for a whole podcast on betrayal, which, by the way, some of the episode ideas they have, wild.
Really? Like what?
Well, we'll get there. But first, I got to know, is there really a pattern to who betrays and why? I mean, does age or gender actually play a role, or is that all just like pop psychology stuff?
Okay, well, the source material we're looking at right off the bat, it kind of sets the stage by defining betrayal, but like specifically in the context of relationships. And it's interesting because it emphasizes that betrayal isn't just about like romantic infidelity, which is what I think most people jump to.
Right, right. You mean like not just cheating on your partner?
Exactly. Talks about emotional betrayals and breaches of trust as well, which I think everyone can relate to, right?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
But I mean, have you ever had a friend like spill a secret you told them in confidence?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
I mean, it's not cheating, but it still feels awful.
Absolutely. And the source really stresses that the impact of the betrayal matters just as much as, the intent behind it. Like a friend telling your secret might hurt, but it probably won't have the same like devastating consequences as, let's say, a partner hiding a gambling addiction. Both are betrayals, but the scale of the impact is different.
Okay. Yeah, scale definitely matters.
Yeah.
So, okay, now I got to ask, because I think this is on everyone's mind, right? The whole stereotype about men being more likely to cheat. Is there any truth to that? Does the source material back that up at all?
So it does acknowledge that stereotype exists, but it emphasizes that it's way more complex than just saying men cheat more. What I found really interesting is that it suggests exploring the motivations behind betrayal for both men and women, not just like the acts themselves.
Ooh, interesting. So, are they saying men are more likely to betray because they're looking for validation? Or maybe women do it more out of, like, feeling emotionally neglected?
Right. It's like instead of focusing on who's doing the betraying, let's dig into the why.
Yeah, the why. That makes sense. Okay, now here's another thing I've always wondered about. Age. Honestly, I used to think younger people were more likely to betray just because, less mature or still figuring things out, right?
Yeah.
I remember this one time in college. My friend was dating this guy, swore he was the one, and then bam, he cheats on her with someone from their study group.
Mm.
Brutal. But looking back, I kind of wonder if I was judging him too harshly based on his age. Did the source mention anything about, like, actual research on age and betrayal?
It's funny you should mention that because the source actually brings up how different life stages can influence a person's level of commitment. Like, think about it. Younger people are exploring different identities, relationships, career paths, all that stuff. Their focus might not be on long-term stability yet. But older folks, they might be more settled, seeking security and consistency. So to them, betrayal would feel way more shocking.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. But does the source offer, like, any hard data on age and betrayal?
Yeah.
Statistics, numbers, anything concrete?
That's where it gets interesting. It doesn't. No hard data at all.
Really?
Yeah, which makes me wonder, right? Is it because the research is inconclusive?
Hmm,
Or is it just so individual that age doesn't really matter as much as we think it does? It's a good question.
it is. Okay, so moving on. The source also delves into some more psychological stuff like attachment styles and self-esteem, which I got to admit I find fascinating. It's like, can we really peek into someone's brain and understand why they might betray someone or how they react when they're the one being betrayed?
Yeah, right. And the source suggests that understanding someone's attachment style, whether they're secure, anxious, avoidant, can actually shed some light on their behaviors in relationships, especially when it comes to betrayal.
Oh, okay. So like someone with an anxious attachment style might be more prone to what, jealousy, even if no betrayal has actually happened.
Exactly. They might be constantly on edge, worried about being betrayed, which ironically could actually push their partner away. And then on the flip side, you have the avoidant attachment style, where people are like uncomfortable with emotional closeness. If they get betrayed, they might just shut down completely, making it that much harder to heal and move forward.
That's really interesting. So basically, our past experiences and how we learn to bond with others can really shape how we perceive and deal with betrayal.
Wow. Okay, so we've talked about individual psychology, but the source also mentions social factors, right? What does that even mean in the context of betrayal? Like, is it peer pressure to cheat or is it something bigger? It's actually way bigger than just cheating. The source highlights how different cultures have completely different views on what constitutes betrayal and how serious it is. Like, imagine a culture where family loyalty is everything. Betraying your family's trust, that's like the ultimate sin. There could be serious consequences. But then you compare that to more individualistic cultures where, like, personal happiness is prioritized, even if it means going against your family's wishes. So basically, the definition of betrayal can completely shift depending on your cultural background.
Wow, that's mind-blowing. So what might be a minor betrayal in one culture could be like life-altering in another.
Exactly. And there are so many nuances to consider. Like, think about honor cultures, right? Where even a perceived insult can be seen as a form of betrayal, and it can lead to like extreme reactions. It really makes you think about how our own cultural lens shapes our whole understanding of trust and betrayal.
So much to unpack here. Okay, but for the sake of time, let's talk about the idea of like preventing betrayal. The source mentions this whole section on moving forward. So I got to ask, is there some kind of betrayal proofing checklist we can follow? Like, give me the secrets.
Oh, if only were that easy, right? But the source does emphasize one crucial element: open communication. Like
Mm.
really fostering emotional intimacy in your relationships. When both people feel heard, valued, and like safe to share their deepest thoughts and feelings, the need to seek those needs elsewhere, it diminishes.
So basically, creating a space where you can be totally vulnerable with each other.
Yeah, I think that's a big part of it. It's not a guarantee, obviously, but it builds a really strong foundation of trust.
Okay, so, wow. I feel like I just got a crash course in the complexities of betrayal.
Yeah.
Seriously. Okay, but to kind of wrap things up, if we had to distill everything we've learned today, it seems like betrayal is way more nuanced than most people realize.
Yeah.
And it's not just about the act itself, but like the motivations behind it, the cultural context, individual psychology, all of that.
Right.
And there's one last thing from the source that I found really interesting. It asks how social media impacts betrayal in modern
Yeah,
relationships.
that's a good one.
Like, does the constant connection and access to other people make it easier to betray? Or does it actually, like, increase accountability because everything leaves a digital footprint?
I don't know.
Right. Something to think about. So, listeners, on that note, we're going to leave you with that question. Maybe re-examine some past experiences or just, like, consider how you build trust and communicate in your current relationships. Anyway, that's it for today. Until next time.
See ya.